And he said, yes, I know exactly what it is. I've had it before. And I said, this is not a safe medication. He said, no, my doctor assured me that it's safe. There's no side effects, he said, it is safe. He asked me if I can find someone for him. He said, I will pay them anything. If you can find me an anesthesiologist or another doctor.
On Easter Sunday, April 12th, before Dr. Muray is hired, registered nurse Cherilyn Lee says she gets a frantic call from Jackson.
He said, find me an anesthesiologist. I don't care how much money they want.
She says he was begging her for Propofol so he could sleep.
Well, guys, Dr. Conrad Muray, who was Michael Jackson's last doctor, apparently rented storage space at this facility. Now, we've learned at least two groups have been here. The first group, Dr. Murray's employees. The second group, federal investigators. Sue Line manages West 18th Self-Storage. She says the same day federal investigators raided the Acres home office of Dr. Conrad Muray, they were also cutting open his storage facility here in the Heights.
I never associated the name of Michael Jackson's physician, Conrad Muray, until they all came in here yesterday, day before, I don't remember what day it was.
Federal agents seized several items from Dr. Murray's rented space. Lyon says they weren't the only ones. She says the day Michael Jackson died, within hours, employees from Dr. Murray's office showed up.
There was two women. They were the managers for Conrad Muray.
Federal drug agents raided a Beverly Hills pharmacy as part of the ongoing investigation into Michael Jackson's death. A spokesperson for the Drug Enforcement Administration says agents were serving a warrant Friday at the Mickey Fine Pharmacy and Grill. Officials are seeking evidence of improper dispensing of controlled substances. In 2007, the pharmacy sued Jackson, claiming he owed more than $100,000 for prescription drugs. The matter was quickly resolved.
As you all know, at 11:50 this morning, we served a search warrant. DEA right now is looking for evidence of improper dispensing of controlled substances.
Friday's raid comes a week after authorities raided a Nevada pharmacy. That's where Dr. Conrad Muray, the doctor who was with Jackson when he died, bought the anesthetic Propofol. Authorities say Muray, who is the focus of a manslaughter investigation, administered the drug to Jackson before his death. No charges have been filed.
It's unheard of. Most people would not request Diprovan because of insomnia. He clearly had been exposed to it prior to this incident, and he was aware of its sedating abilities. It probably knocked him out very quickly. And so he was familiar with it. He needed some. He asked for it. And that's why attention is now being focused on that drug. When the toxicology report comes out, we may find out he's got several potent drugs in his system. And the combined effect is a cocktail for death. This is the kind of drug, Diprovan, simply should not be administered in the home. It wasn't meant for that purpose. It was meant for somebody going into surgery to sedate them prior to getting some heavier anesthesia. So I think there's something wrong with this whole picture. And any physician would be aware that, why are there so many drugs in the home? Why is he asking for Diprovan? Something's wrong here. And there needs to be some intervention. If Michael was going to be saved, it needed to be done not at that moment, but prior to that event. First thing I would do was get him some help and have him talk to somebody. He had a personal physician with him, a cardiologist, and cardiologists know about these medications. That person should know all the drugs that he was taking or had taken in the past, and should have been aware that Michael was asking for these drugs. We don't really know how much his physician, Dr. Muray, knew about the drugs that led up to this situation, but I think anybody listening to this cry for help, medication-wise, would know that there's some level of drug abuse taking place. To get to the bottom of this, we need to know which doctors were writing which prescriptions and which doctors were actually administering medication directly. The personal physician probably should have been the quarterback and been aware of all the drugs that he had been taking in the past or at that time just prior to that event. So there may very well be some liability on the part of that physician, even though that physician may not have administered any drug at the time of this event. So his liability may be in the fact that he should have been aware of what drugs were available and possibly being abused. Now, how he got these drugs, and the question first of all is, are they legal or are they illegal drugs? And assuming that they're legal, the question then becomes, how did he get them? And how did he get large quantities, which apparently is being reported, that they have recovered large quantities of certain drugs that aren't even generally available by prescription. This Propofol, or Diprovan, as it is called, is the kind of drug that's used in hospitals mainly. So, doctors will not prescribe that medication for home use. Well, first of all, we don't know the cause of death, and that's not going to be established until the toxicology report comes back, which probably will be in about another week and a half to 2 weeks. And that will tell us which drugs are in his system and the extent of those drugs, how much of those drugs are in his system. And I think what will come out of that is a determination that probably there are a combination of drugs that had interacted in such a way as to depress his central nervous system, ultimately causing respiratory depression and cardiac failure. And I think the toxicology report will show us that that was the cause of death.
And Cherilyn, we just want to ask you, you had remained in the background for a long time here. Why have you decided to come out and speak so publicly about this now?
I felt that Sunday there was a problem, a serious problem. Well, I tried to reach out to him. I didn't receive a call back. But the reason I decided to step out, because there were so many indications showing that he was on drugs. And, I didn't feel that was the case. And when I heard they were going to do a second autopsy, then I felt, you know what, they probably will find the medication now, because they didn't find it on the first.
The court documents recount a conversation between a police officer and the LA County coroner in which he stated that lethal doses of Propofol were in Michael Jackson's system. But what kind of person becomes addicted to such a drug, which is rarely available outside a hospital setting?
Propofol, sold under the brand name Diprivan in the US, is an anesthetic which is delivered intravenously. Of those who've sought treatment for addiction to the drug, most are healthcare professionals.
In the majority of cases that we see where people become addicted to Diprivan, they've had severe, often profound life trauma and have developed a syndrome called post-traumatic stress disorder. And when they have that post-traumatic stress disorder, being awake, being alert, is so difficult that they'll do anything to escape, anything to disappear.
This medication was initially prescribed to see the excruciating pain that I was suffering after recent reconstructive surgery on my scalp.
And this was when he sustained the scalp injury, an accident on the set of a Pepsi commercial in 1984. But police are now focusing on the drugs in his system when he died, specifically how they were obtained and whether they were correctly administered. It's the crux of a complex investigation. Robert Nisbet, Sky News, Los Angeles.